Hello there, Commonwealth from here, and it's time to tackle one of the best Zelda dungeons in the series. For some, it might be the favorite dungeon of Ocarina of Time. For me personally, it's the second after the Forest Temple, but the Spirit Temple, with its duality, is still one of the absolute best temples. You reach inside of here as an adult, are forced to go back, return the Master Sword, play the Requirem of Spirit that you just learned, and head into the Spirit Temple. Nabooru is waiting, and you get the task of helping her take down Ganondorf. Interestingly enough, Joey, we now know who Ganondorf is. Not in the remake, of course, but in the movie.
The actor who has been cast to play him is Uli Latukefu. He's a Polynesian actor, menacing-looking guy, so...
That begs the question, really, should Nabooru be voiced? It could add some extra depth before you start making your way through, because especially since there is a cutscene with her at the end of the child section as well.
Voice acting, when it's done really well, I feel like it can be a lot more impactful than just simply reading texts, unless Nintendo decides, hey, for Ocarina of Time, we're just going to stick to text boxes. But I feel like that trailer has to be indicative of something, right? They could have Nabooru be voiced in like some pre-rendered cutscenes, if they're going to be pre-rendered at all. But yeah, there's definitely some important stuff that happens with her. She is a very important character.
Then you enter this small space, and you have a bunch of puzzles and spaces. Like, the thing I think you can change the most of the Spirit Temple is really the first section. It's Child Link. That's where also the limitations were. You use the boomerang, you can use the slingshot, avoid the traps that are in the way. This section alone could see major changes as a result. I wouldn't mind having some new puzzles in this section. Sure, you've battled Stalfos, which you don't really do as Child Link. I feel like the child section could either be a little bit expanded, or you just changed most of the puzzles, because you can get through the child section in around 15 minutes it is. We want to avoid an autopilot experience. This is something we also talked about the Forest Temple, where you want to change some of the puzzles, especially those that are more tedious. Be fully rewarded, really, also as a veteran, because we know a lot of the people that will be buying and playing this remake will be people who have played Ocarina of Time in the past.
We're both in full agreement that the child section of this dungeon should just stay. It's so cool, it's so unique, just the fact that you start with young Link and then go to adult Link, and no other dungeon in this game really does that. I can't really think of any other dungeon outside of this game that has a unique element such as this. Block pulling puzzles, like the ones involving like the sun faces, maybe those could be changed to be a little more exhilarating, because block pulling is not the most exciting thing. It's probably the most tedious. Maybe if they make them faster. I'm not quite sure. I don't even remember if the Tears of the Kingdom and Breath had freaking block pulling puzzles, because you could just lift those suckers up with Magnesis or Ultra Hand or what have you.
The tediousness. There is a little bit of a nature of waiting and having to be patient in Ocarina of Time, and the Spirit Temple is a very good example of that, at least until you get Silver Gauntlets and a Mirror Shield, which is the main item of this temple. But the big highlight of the child section is naturally the mini-boss fight against the Iron Knuckle. Good examples of dual fights that you get in Ocarina of Time along with the Dark Link battle. You're battling literally a giant. Maybe tweak that battle or those battles a little bit to make them even more of a spectacle. That's the whole point of making a remake. Take something that is already great and make it even better. We saw that also in Final Fantasy VII Remake with a couple of the bosses, and I feel like they can definitely pull that off in the Spirit Temple, as Link makes his way first to get the Silver Gauntlets as a child and witnesses the kidnapping and brainwashing of Nabooru by Kuma and Kotaken. And that's why he also keeps the Silver Gauntlets and is able to go into the future, pull the Master Sword to the adult section of the Spirit Temple, which, let's be honest, is the real highlight of this temple. Yes, you do have some boulders, you have block puzzles, avoid traps also, but it definitely feels more of like an Egyptian pyramid full of traps.
Definitely fitting to be like the last temple before the big like battle at Ganondorf Hyrule Castle, whatever you want to call it. The most Tomb Raider-y with these rolling rocks and these traps. Fan favorite for sure.
Probably the one that captures the whole ancient Egypt setting, I would say even better than Arbiter's Grounds and Twilight Princess. And as a result, there are things you don't mess with here. So many great enemies. You have the likes, you have the floor masters, and then you make it into that fantastic chamber with the goddess of the sand, which of course is also outside, but the statue inside, it even has an awesome Easter egg because you can catch the nipple with the long shot, upgraded hook shot, which is the suggestive themes. I don't know if it will survive as a result of it not being in the age rating.
Right.
E10 plus.
We are being robbed. Never forget what they took from you guys. We're already getting off the rails here, but how much do you change really? Looking at it right now, it looks almost perfect. I'm sure there are some enemy placements that can be changed, especially when we're talking about with the Iron Knuckle having to fight that boss again. What are we going to do here to like really shake things up?
I think the visuals are already very good as they are, but I think they can elevate it to yet another level, which is also a big point of this remake. We already see significant changes in the starting area when Link is about to wake up, and I think the temples is really where you can make those changes significant because it will be recognizable but different at the same time. And I think this whole stretch of the climb that it is exactly making your way up to the Iron Knuckle. It is a much easier fight, obviously, when you are an adult. But I think maybe they could tweak the difficulty as a result. It could be a real challenge in order to get to that second hand outside and the chest to collect the mirror shield. We know that the Gerudo symbol already changed long ago. It used to be the crescent moon, very similar to the flag and symbol of the Republic of Turkey, previously the Ottoman Empire, but it has been changed as a result of the whole Islamic controversies to a more neutral symbol of the Gerudo. I have a feeling that the mirror shield is going to be the same one as we saw in the 3D version.
The 3DS remake did the same things, even taking out Greek symbolism. I guess if you're going to remove one thing, you got to remove some other things, I guess. It does kind of make Zelda feel more like its own world. Link's shield in the very beginning had the cross. There's so much that's already been changed from Zelda, set within its own world.
Yeah, the same goes really with the music, because I think the theme of the Spirit Temple is absolutely brilliant. And we know that not all of this was composed by Koji Kondo. Some of those were sound samples that they found on CDs and then tweaked. And there was a little bit of a controversy with those tunes, but they were able to reuse them for Ocarina of Time 3D. So I don't think it's going to be a problem here as well. What I'm thinking more of is that it has to be orchestral, right? We have heard orchestral examples by Zreo, of course. What I like about this temple in general is that there's just so many hidden things, whether it's tied to the light puzzles or to the fact that you don't have to climb up certain ladders or climbable sections. You can just use the long shot. So there are already multiple different solutions here that we are used to in Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. There's not just one way of tackling this. It feels like an elevated Zelda dungeon.
I totally agree, because as much as I love Breath and Tears, those dungeons are seriously lacking. They were better to me in Tears of the Kingdom, but if I had to choose between like modified Tears of the Kingdom dungeons and traditional linear temples like the Spirit Temple here, I'm always going to choose that last one.
You have to remember one thing about Ocarina of Time. It is the pacing. And you already have a temple with two sections, a child and adult section, and extending the adult section with some more challenging puzzles is not really necessary when one thinks about it. Like, sure, there is a lot of pushing. If you're going to get rid of those type of puzzles, do it in the child section of this temple, but keep the whole battling Lizalfos so that you can create that light path and be able to use the mirror shield so that you can get lowered down and break that face that is hiding the true villainy of this temple. The Goddess of the Sand is just a facade. Behind her are the two masterminds, the ones that raised Ganondorf to become the evil king that he is, namely Kouma and Kotaku.
These evil witches turning Nabooru into an iron knuckle, and then she's just being brainwashed by them both, and then turning this into a dual boss battle.
The entire boss fight here revolves around ice and fire, and the best way of changing this boss is very simple. You just change the order of how they attack. And I feel like keeping the whole death scene of these two hags about 400 years.
I'm 380. We're twins. Don't lie about your age. So good.
I want that fully voiced, and I want it to be Hylian hilarious. These girls definitely deserved it, based on everything they did and turning Ganondorf into what he became, pretty much. Should there be a choice of whether you go to the Spirit Temple or the Shadow Temple and do it in a way that is less breaking the pattern that the game is guiding you through?
Like, seeing this dungeon in action, the Spirit Temple, I really feel like that's gotta stay like the final one. Either way, it's a good ending.
And if it is the final dungeon, which we hope it isn't, of course, because you have to make your way back to the Temple of Time, where a certain Sheik is waiting for you, and then the big question is, will Nintendo put that very likely cut Light Temple? Because that is exactly what we'll be talking about in the next episode of Inside Ocarina of Time Remake. So if you haven't already, then be sure to share your thoughts on the Spirit Temple, but also leave a like, subscribe, and press the notification bell. Last but not least, a big thanks to you for watching, and to all our patreon.com/CommonRealm patrons, with special shoutouts to our heroes, Cheryl, Garrett Hoy, Holly Wolf, and Kintaro. You rock, and please enjoy these awesome videos.